big dog, coming through. Always on time,
So I think the best place to start this video is with the Indiana Pacers. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Reggie Miller was the king in Indiana, and he made Indy a proud basketball city, taking them on multiple deep playoff runs and to multiple finals appearances. He laid the foundation for the franchise's winning culture. Unfortunately, he was never able to bring a title to Indy, which still haunts him to this day.
It will always haunt me. It will always haunt me not winning a chip. It wouldn't haunt me as much if I was never so close, right? You could be a great player and never be close. I never had the opportunity. Oh, I had opportunities.
But he's still regarded as basketball royalty and is still one of the kings in Indianapolis history. Once the Mouse at the Palace effectively ended Reggie's last championship hopes, Reggie retired at the end of the season, ending an era. This forced Indy to go through a transition period with some mediocre Danny Granger-led teams. The front office knew this team wasn't going to cut it and bring Indy back to its heyday, so they looked forth into the draft.
With the 10th pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, the Indiana Pacers select Paul George of Fresno State University.
He was a raw prospect but athletic forward out of Fresno State and quickly developed into a two-way star, leading the Pacers back to multiple Eastern Conference Finals appearances. During the 2012 to 2014 seasons, the Pacers pushed the LeBron-led Miami Heat to 6 and 7 games in back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals in 2013 and 2014. Paul George was the engine in this team, but Indy made their identity grit and defense with players like Roy Hibbert, David West, Lance Stevenson, and George Hill. This made them a defensive nightmare for most teams in the league. George was even voted as an MVP candidate at the end of the 2014 season. But obviously, when everything is going good, life has some unfortunate ways of setting you back. In the summer of 2014, while playing a routine scrimmage game for Team USA, Paul George suffered one of the most gruesome injuries in NBA history, effectively derailing any momentum the franchise previously had. At that time, no one knew how PG was even going to return from his injury. Many reporters around the league thought it might be the end for him, or he would return a shell of himself like Sean Livingston did, who suffered a similar injury previously in his career. During PG's downtime, the Pacers drafted one of their future key pieces in the 2015 draft for Miles Turner at the 11th pick. Once PG returned from his injury, he came back better than pre-injury, with a little bit of less athleticism. But too much time had passed, and their championship window had closed. The previous dominant core had gotten older, new rule changes phased out Roy Hibbert, and they were never able to keep up with the progression of the league as shooting became more of a factor. After a slow rebuild process and never being able to attract another star to play alongside George, PG did the infamous "I want to retire for this organization that we will come to love" for Paul George to immediately request a trade to get the hell out of Indy.
I text that nigga like, next year you gonna be damn near MVP.
Can't nobody fuck with you.
Oh God, I'm at the baseball game. Y'all know I ain't even fuck with Buddy like that. I'm at the baseball game hitting. Like, yeah.
That's some real shit.
We gonna be all right next year, my
Hey,
boy.
man, I would never
remember that.
forget him doing that interview at the softball game. Yeah, I want to be an Indy for Life report come out. Paul George requested trade. I said, God damn.
Literally.
Because I don't kind of.
So Indy found a trade for Mr. I want to retire here, which ended an era of dominant Pacers basketball again. Paul George was traded to OKC in return for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. When the trade first occurred, most NBA fans were shocked by the return for Paul George because at that point, both Vio and Sabonis were role players on the Thunder and were nearly equivalent to an MVP candidate. Little did we know, Victor Oladipo and Sabonis would become a dynamic duo in Indianapolis, and Vio would have a breakout year in his first season with the team, having an All-Star appearance and also winning Most Improved Player. He revitalized the team and brought hope to Pacers fans that were staring down the barrel of a rebuild. The Pacers remained a playoff team consistently, but unfortunately couldn't get past the first round. Oladipo's injuries caught up with him and inevitably derailed his career and reshaped the way the Pacers looked again. The Pacers continued to be a middle-of-the-pack team while Sabonis blossomed into an all-star, but everyone could tell the writing was on the wall for this team. Either get Sabonis a better co-star or trade him for another mini rebuild. At the beginning of the 2021 season, the Pacers front office wanted to make some adjustments to the man calling the plays. Head coach Nate McMillan, who was brought over during the Victor Oladipo regime, was canned, and in return, the Pacers wanted to bring some familiar blood to help bring back a new era of Indiana basketball. Rick Carlisle, who had a previous stint with the Pacers as a head coach back when Reggie Miller was still competing for titles, was the head coach for the job. With a new head coach in office, the decision was clear. Indy was scouting for a new franchise player to lead them to the next decade of being a competitive team. During the 2021 and 2022 season, the Pacers had achieved one of their lowest win totals in franchise history with only 25 wins. The Sabonis-led Pacers had reached a ceiling, and the front office decided to strike a deal with the most desperate franchise in the organization, the Sacramento Kings. The Kings were at a crossroad during the season. They already had a star guard in De'Aaron Fox, who they had drafted in the 2017 draft. They drafted Tyrese in the 2020 draft, and Davion Mitchell in the 2021 draft, none of which are even on the Kings anymore. The Kings wanted a proven front court player they could pair with De'Aaron Fox to steer the franchise in the right direction. But to be honest, I think it's because De'Aaron was kind of threatening a trade. I really don't think that they had any option besides either getting him a trade or trading him, because I just think he was kind of fed up with the lack of success that was going on in Sacramento at that time. So during the 2022 season, Indiana traded all-star Domantas Sabonis to the Kings for Tyrese Halliburton, a young, high IQ point guard. Tyrese has shown flashes of being a great guard in Sacktown, but his productivity was hidden behind other solid guards on the team. The trade was kind of viewed as a win-win for both, because Indy would be able to retool around a new sophomore guard who could be a cornerstone for their franchise, and Sacramento was finally able to pair some good talent around De'Aaron Fox to actually take them to the next level. This move would become a turning point for the future. In the next few seasons, the Pacers would acquire other pivotal players that would play an inevitable role in their championship run. In the 2022 draft, they selected Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard. In the 2023, Halliburton had become an all-star and one of the NBA's top leading assist leaders. Going into the 2024 season, the team continuously improved under their new star in Tyrese, but the front office felt like they were one piece away from making the Pacers a true contender. In the beginning of the 2024 season, the Pacers decided to trade for Pascal Siakam, adding a versatile forward to be a co-star alongside Tyrese and bringing someone to the team with championship DNA that can help steer a young roster deep into the playoffs. The Pacers went on a run during the playoffs, getting all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, but were swept by a much superior Celtics team. Most fans viewed it as a fluke run because they played against some teams that were already injured before they even got to Boston. So the next season, the Pacers decided to prove everyone wrong, that it wasn't a Cinderella run, and they were trying to contend again. They started slow and were a middle-of-the-pack team majority of the first half of the 2025 season. But after the All-Star break, the Pacers came out a different team and became one of the best offensive teams during the second half of the season. They were still doubted during the postseason, being the underdog in every series they went into. But Indy proved us all wrong. They went on one of the most historic runs, taking out the Milwaukee Bucks, my Cavaliers, and the Knicks, which each series ended in a game-winning shot or a game-winning comeback. They made it all the way to the finals to face off against the best team in the entire NBA in the Oklahoma City Thunder. A series with some big games, competitive matchups, and it went all the way to 7 games. Unfortunately, at the beginning of Game 7, when Tyrese was going off, he suffered a torn Achilles due to a right calf strain he sustained at the beginning of the series. They had to carry him off the court, and Indiana's season crumbled in front of them as they never could get ahead of the Thunder. The Thunder became champions, and the entire Indiana franchise was left heartbroken. This has led us to our current situation that we see in the offseason. Miles Turner has inevitably signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Pacers wanted to avoid going over the luxury tax. Milwaukee was willing to pay for it, so he walked. Halliburton is out for the whole season, and that's if he comes back on the court healthy for the previous season, which would be 2026, 2027. So that's just if he returns even healthy. And it just looks like a down period for the Pacers. But at the moment, you got some players on the team like TJ McConnell who said they're not done and that they're going to compete again and that they're going to be coming back. But it's just like, obviously we know Pascal is still on the team. Obviously we know he's still a engine to that team and he can take them to a playoff series. But I feel like without their star young guard, like Tyrese plays a big role. Like even though he doesn't show up in every game, even though he doesn't show up in every playoff series, I feel like his presence still has to be accounted for whenever he's on that court. And with the way they're constructed now, with him being gone, I just think their championship window or the runs that they had in these past 2 seasons are just not going to be as effective until he returns and we really see how he returns from the injury. And that could be, like I said, another 2-3 years down the line. So it's just like, I don't know really what the Pacers front office is really like direction they're moving forward, but I think it might effectively be the end for the Pacers, like especially during this time period and the timeline that they had of even contending. I just think that's kind of over at the moment. And I hope they were able to bounce back. I hope Tyrese is able to heal. At the end of the day, I just think it's a real like sore period for Pacers fans, and my heart goes out to y'all, and I hope they're able to bounce back and contend in the future. But appreciate y'all for watching this video, and more videos to come. Peace.